So we have had some great perspectives from the previous speakers about where the market is, where the industry is, which leaves us with no doubt that India is at the cusp of an infrastructure revolution, so to speak. I mean, and it's inevitable because the point is that if there is a lack of quality infrastructure, India really runs the risk, of jeopardizing whatever it's doing on infrastructure. So, and the government is seized of the matter. I mean, the magnitude of the task at hand, and they have taken several initiatives, policies to ensure that the infrastructure is really up and running and all that. But there are also challenges that comes in its wake. I mean, how do you build infrastructure that lasts, that is safe for the people to use, and is resilient, and and can be built within the time and within the cost, without much of a wastage, and doing so in a more sustainable manner? And how is technology going to support that? So, without much ado, I would like to bring in Nishant into this whole thing and ask him, what does this building information modeling mean for the building industry, and what are the advantages and challenges?
Hi, good evening, everyone. We had very, set of very articulate speakers, and it is, before speaking anything, sort of makes me a little nervous to start. First of all, yeah, but. So it's a interesting junction that we are at, both in terms of where the country stands today, and it's exciting times. I'll be a little cautious of, sort of giving any stats. Like Mr. Swaroop said, I should have double checked, but I know these stats. Like 75% of the built environment that is going to be in India by the year 2050 is not built today. Which means if you have to put it in a statistics, we need to really build a Chicago every year. That is the kind of housing infrastructure that we need to create. Which means that it's a challenge and it's also an opportunity. When it's an opportunity and you have a Herculean task, it is very critical that the keyword efficiency comes into play. The moment the word efficiency comes into play, that means how are we challenging, what we had been doing from so many decades. And then the moment we challenge ourselves, we need to, improvise on things that we are doing. And the use of BIM now has, radically changed, especially the complex projects, especially changed the large-scale projects. Now, what it has really done is that it is a collaborative tool wherein all the agencies, the designers, the consultants, and later come together and develop the construction documents. Once the construction documents are ready, goes on the site to the contractors. You get the shop drawings, things go on. And later goes to the next dimension of operations. Now, at every level, what's happening is that you're able to, in a way, save almost 20% of the time in your coordination. Then you're able to save almost 25 to 30% in the cost, and you're able to save 40% almost in rework. So as architects, I think it's a blessing in disguise, and we are very happy and excited, and we look forward to take it to next level.
Are clients really receptive to the idea of using BIM tools while designing projects?
No, in fact, clients now are very pro to using BIM because what it is enabling is, getting 80%, 90%, I would say, of your engineering, 95%, as I say, I'll keep increasing that. 95% of your engineering and coordination right in first place. So you don't need to go to site and, certain issue that arise that time. So now on the drawing table itself, it takes a little extra time, little extra efforts, little extra infrastructure, but the results are phenomenal, and all coordination is done on the design board itself. So yes, the industry is adopting BIM in a big way. For the more complex projects, definitely almost 100% projects we are implementing BIM. Even to the developers projects now, we are implementing big for many large developers who have made it a mandate to work in the BIM workflow.
Oh, that's great to know. Let me bring Priyamvada into the conversation. How do you make BIM a mainstream platform and acceptable and adaptable to all types of scales of design consultancies, training the workforce on BIM? How does it benefit the end user and the client?
Yeah, so there are many questions in the same question. Let me start by saying that BIM is, as a tool, is going to become essential, mainly to future-proof careers going ahead, which means that it is a collaborative effort that is needed. It's needed from the government, it's needed from the industry, it's needed from the grassroots level, the institutions which churn out the talent. So it's going to be a huge collaborative effort at that point, because the government has to, the more they get, you get a mandate for public projects using BIM, I think that will urge a lot of talent to kind of get themselves ready for the job. The industry definitely would have would need the skills and get the talent ready for this kind of work, and because the employment seeks it, you're going to force the entire education system to adopt it very early, and this is something which is going to be a movement. I don't see this as just in silos, It's something which has to happen across the board to get the workforce going. I think we've seen all the advantages of BIM. I see that the developers or the end users are a little hesitant to adopt it straight away, but that's because of 2-3 reasons. They're not, first of all, completely aware of its advantages, which they would need to be educated on, number one. Second is that, so they want it to be, so the developer says that, okay, I'm happy to have BIM implemented on my project, but then let it be the cost to the architect or the person who's conceiving it. Why am I paying for it? What am I getting out of it? Or it's the project management teams. They're going to monitor time and cost, and so let them use it. So I'm the beneficiary, but not necessarily I want to pay for it. So the cost is an issue there.
But won't that get passed on to the ultimate client by the architect or whoever it is?
Yes, but I think they don't want to see it as a visual cost to them. It will be, but it'll be a bundle thing. It won't be something that they want to face. And I think companies like Nemetschek would contribute very well to the Indian cause if they were to bring in the softwares to different design consultancies, even the multidisciplinary engineering companies, with maybe an incentive, to use it in a way that it gives them the chance to implement it across their projects. To make it a movement. It's not really just a software. One will have to do much more to make it. And we've seen in the past, there have been companies which came and put a premium on their product, and a lot of India didn't embrace it. And there were others who kind of set it out in motion, and then there was an entire generation which picked it up because they were trained in it, and which then helped it eventually. So one has to look at it from that point of view. It's not only the business, but it's actually something that a generation or a few generations would have to adopt it.
How to broad base it? I mean, how to
Absolutely.
proliferate it and, the industry to use it extensively?
Absolutely. I think we'd have to go to all the stakeholders there. But I definitely feel that I heard some fantastic numbers of the kind of talent and the kind of engineering groups that are going to be coming into the profession. So I think all of them have to be future-proof with technologies like this.
So I'll just like to add, I completely endorse, what she's saying, because like for a city like Bombay, 80% of the built environment is developed by the government, by the developers. So while the developers are doing, yes, some of them have adopted BIM, the others are a little hesitant. But even for those who have adopted, not all are taking BIM to its potential, in a sense that although we are extracting drawings and quantities out of BIM, but you're not really going to the dimension of, okay, third dimension is the spatial, fourth dimension is your time, fifth dimension is your cost, sixth dimension is your operations, and sixth dimension is your procurement, and seventh dimension is your operations. So nobody's really taking that model to operations. The moment you start using the potential of BIM would be that you're using the potential of BIM to the maximum while you're using it for the operations. You're finding out where the leak is, you're finding out where the building, the engineering has gone wrong, and sort of making it more efficient. So I think number one is adopting it. Number two is then using it to its potential. And I think also from the software giants, I think things need to be, relatively simplified in the sense they have to be more user-friendly. Nobody imagined how, simple maps would work, 2 decades back and how they work now. So I think it's also the user interface. I mean, we all, embrace SketchUp as it's the most simple tool, and so how we can, sort of make these tools much more user-friendly so that, yes, training is required, but it is not too extensive. It's at a softer level to start with. Yeah,
that's a very valid point. So let me bring Biplab into the conversation now. Algorithm-aided designs on, for design explorations on a BIM model is something that's catching up. Could you please tell us a sense about what it is all about and how it is helping the, construction industry?
Yeah, so, algorithmic aided design is something like when you are able to see the design variations on a BIM model by using some algorithms. Like, for example, you might say that I want, in my facade, I want each of the panels to be this size. And so give me a layout of the panel for your facade, building facade. Or you can say that I want the solar absorption of the panel to be this, and it'll give you a particular layout. So these are things that you can do, for example, with a tool like Rhino Grasshopper is one example of that tool. In the Nemetschek group, we have similar tools in each of the BIM authoring tools that we have. So it's becoming more and more clear to me that not everything can be accommodated in the tool, in the BIM product itself. There will be these other mechanisms through which you have to design, some parts of the building. And I feel like, there is no prescriptive way that you can actually create a BIM model. It has to be something that the designers have to feel like, okay, this is something that I need to do, and this is how I need to calculate things, and it has to be the BIM model should be data driven. I mean, we all talk about that the model is the main thing. Actually, model is not the main thing. Is the I in BIM, the information that is attached to the BIM model, that is the most important thing. And how do you manipulate all that data that is there? Because there's thousands of fields of just in a wall object itself, there is like thousands of things that you can change. And how do you keep track of them? How do you manipulate them? And that's where the algorithmic aided design comes into play.
So, Nishant, let me again bring you into the picture. You know, amongst the BIM, open BIM principles, there is a belief that operability between project stakeholders must not be used as grounds for competition, and free choice of software in project work must be a basic right for any project stakeholder. It is also stated that industry stakeholders must publicly endorse and promote open BIM in the AEC community. Are you in agreement with that?
In total agreement of that, because you know, a very strong word for that would be, you know, having a cartel, you know, or having a mafia of a certain softwares. You know, it sort of becomes too, you know, difficult to, you know, with, I mean, I think everybody understands what I'm saying. But it becomes very difficult because you can't, one software doesn't, you know, sort of support the other. While in India, you know, like Autodesk is a big player, had been for the longest time, and, you know, after Revit, and so there's a dependency that, you know, we've sort of got dependent, and so I think the more players are in the market, more awareness, things would change and should change. And there has to be a lot of training. I think a lot of training, and there has to be some mechanism wherein the ultimate cost is not borne by the consultant. You know, like the lady just pointed out, it should not be borne by the consultant. It's sort of doing good for the developer, for the state, for the country in certain ways, because of the kind of you know, savings it's doing for the environment in a way. Right, so I think probably by the life cycle cost of a project, there should be some mechanism wherein it is more affordable, and it's I think that would be the key to, you know, break this whole system.
So, Biplab, how do you make it more affordable? I mean, from where he is left off, how do you make it more affordable?
Yeah, that's a. I think there are a couple of aspects here. You know, the BIM as a whole can be thought of as there is a design BIM and there is the construction BIM. So the design BIM part of it can be made very affordable. Like, you know, you can almost imagine, like, you know, if you have SketchUp with BIM information on the objects, that's almost like a design BIM. But what the Nemetschek products actually do is not only just the design portion, but also, you know, you'll be able to coordinate the model with the structural model as well as the you know, MEP model, and put them all together, do the clash detection, you know, change parameters in the model to remove the clashes, and issue management basically. And those are the things that we call this. There are these two things we call in the little BIM and the big BIM. And the big BIM is a place where you need the interoperability, because, you know, the structural models are coming from some other products, and you need to put them all together. And there are some data losses and things like that. But that's where I think we should think about the affordability not only from the point of view of cost, but also the data loss. You know, there's so much data that we lose just because of transferring from one system to the other. And that's where the open BIM really plays a big part, because imagine all the major products of all these different disciplines are using the open BIM you know, functionality, and they're using the same API to transport their data, and we'll be all interoperable, and we don't have to really you know, bother about you know, data loss anymore. And so I think it's not only the affordability, but also the quality of the work, I think, will improve quite a bit if we use the open BIM.
So I heard, you know, when Dr. Swarup was speaking, he was talking about a regulatory aspect, which is not supporting sustainability, you know, and that is something that is at the state level. What needs to be done for that? Priyamvada, any thoughts on that?
Your question
You know,
is
he
based
was
on-
talking about regulatory aspects not supporting sustainable construction activities at the moment in the states, because construction is a state subject.
Well, I think, I mean, the projects that we've looked at and I've seen over the last 5 years, I think the word sustainability is everywhere. And that's very positive. I see that as awareness. I see that as a willingness to improve matters and to be not just the regulatory part of it, but just the fact that we're saving a planet which we all inhabit. So there is a sense of responsibility. And I think from a regulatory point of view, the support would be because when you incentivize something, there would be support. But I think there is an inherent sense of responsibility now, which I see in most projects, and it's making it. It's the owners or the clients who are participating in that and saying that, when they start talking about silver and gold and platinum, it's not just a platitude. It's actually something which they want implemented. And it's something that doesn't start with cost. Today, the discourse is not only around cost. It's around willingness to do. That's what I see as a major shift.
No, but the state of Haryana, like especially in Gurgaon, so you get an incentive of 0.12 if you're doing a Griha 5-star, a green building. So that is actually promoting that, there are more sustainable approaches that are applied to the projects, because, if you are giving an incentive, you're, willing to do it. So I'm not aware of anything like that in this part, but especially in Gurgaon, I know that 0.12 FSI is given additional if you do a green building. So that's where all the projects we are doing, nobody wants to leave that 0.12% of FSI, So yes, they're doing better in that aspect. For commercial buildings, you need international MNCs, and it's a requisite that it's a certain grade of a building. So that's where they are, again, willing to do a green building. But I think it should not be, like she's saying, it should not be, for this particular reasons only, and it should be like a goal, so for a better tomorrow.
Now, let me throw open the floor for questions. Can people ask questions from the panel?
Actually, I have a question.
Yeah, please.
So one of my questions is to the group, actually. With this launch, I'm sure they're coming in with a strategy of how they will reach to the far corners of this country. And, how it's not only just about a launch, but it's about how are you going to reach to the different consultants? How are you reaching? Because I have seen a very specific strategy that the BIM consultants who are there in the market today, and how they operate. So about 5 years back, I remember being a part of a multidisciplinary engineering company, and there was a BIM consultant who came and started talking about how BIM can help our projects. And I said, that's all very well, but nobody in my team is really trained. So how is it going to happen? So they said, okay, don't worry. We'll have a champion from our side who comes and sits in your office. And he does your project. And he's the one who kind of leads it. And at the same time, he trains your team to take the project ahead. So, this is the kind of strategy which they came with. And then we thought that, okay, we'll try this out. And that's how we went with them. So even if it's a company which is coming in with a product, I guess they would have to have a very clear strategy of how they intend to reach the market and how will the market adopt their product.
Biplab?
Yeah, so as you heard from Mr. Chatterjee, that we have this packages or bundles, basically, that we are not saying that you should take everything together, but you have to take these little packages according to your needs. In terms of the training, I think one of the things that the Nemetschek group and all the packages, all the solutions that Nemetschek provides have what is called the learning management system, the LMS. So basically, it's sort of like a university catalog inside your product, and you can say, okay, I need to create the reflected ceiling plan, and how do I do it? I don't know. And so you just type in the university that particular topic, and it'll give you a video and written documentation on it. So that's one way to learn quickly the product. But we also have, BIM consultancy services like what you were talking about, Priyamvada, that people actually can come to your office and sit down with you and create your templates and all the things that are required to start a project off and help you out in that regard. So we have services in many of the brands from Nemetschek on that particular area also. So,
Anybody? Any queries? Any thoughts?
It's time for drinks.
No, there are two more panel discussions to follow.
Yeah, one of the main challenges as a designers we are facing to introduce BIM in our projects is the manpower. So the concepts and the ideas which we have has to be transferred to the drafting team, and they have to build up the models and whatever the BI project requirements, and the ideas has to come out. So now the training of the manpower is the biggest challenge we are posing.
Sure.
So now the challenge is we are not having the manpower, the BIM at college levels or at any places, and the manpower is very scarce. So what is the solution that you can provide so that the BIM can be implemented? So what are the ways through which we can get some manpower and how to solve this problem? So I would like to elaborate.
yeah, so Mr. Chatterjee can address that particular topic.
That's a very relevant, and again, they're coming to the same questions that earlier that you have asked for. So just for the information for everyone, we are going to associate with all the leading education institutes in India. Tomorrow we are opening a Center of Excellence with the JJ College of Architects.
Oh, lovely.
So possibly the next one we will be going with the NICMAR or some other prestigious institutes. We are making huge investment there. We are setting up those Center of Excellence. So to address that, where you will get those trained manpower, we are fully aware of it, that while we are promoting our technology, we need to make sure that our resources are available on the skilled resources available on our technology. So we are going to address to that. Within 1 year time, we have an aim to make 20 Center of Excellence throughout the India. So that's a kind of roadmap that we are working with. Thank you.
Wonderful.
Excellent.
Good to know.
That's very good. Yeah. Anyone else? Okay. Shall we wrap up the session? It was very interesting and very enlightening. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
We'd like to wish the group the best and therefore, namaste.
Thank you.
I wish you all the best.